Hello, my name is Noah Latshaw. I'm going to be doing my presentation kind of like this because I'm having trouble with Kaltura, so I'm just reading it off my work computer screen. So I decided to do my grant proposal on weight cutting and hydration for combat athletes. I wanted to do this because recently, after finishing baseball for Wilmington University, I recently picked up jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and stuff like that, and my roommate does it full time. So I thought that this would be a great help for him when he needs to cut weight. And I just noticed in the UFC and in other promotions that a lot of fighters were cutting weight very unhealthy, and sometimes weren't even making it to the fight. Slide 2, the mission of this grant proposal and project. Cutting weight for anyone is very dangerous if not done correctly. Our mission for our project is to educate the fighters, coaches, and anyone involved in the process, such as teammates in the camp, on how to do it safely. Also, just as important as the weight cut, which people don't understand, or a lot of people don't understand, is the rehydration after your weight cut. This is very important because a lot of people think that they should just blow up and get as heavy as possible, but that's actually not what you want to do. The problem and the reason that I'm doing this is almost every fighter cuts weight for their competition. It's like a given, but almost none of them or the coach knows the proper way to do it. Many fighters oftentimes before the fight even happens are hospitalized because of the improper weight cut. This affects the quality of the contest very heavily because let's say I'm a fan of Khabib and he's many times had to pull out of fights because of his weight cut. And if I'm a fan of Khabib and the only reason I'm buying the fight is because of Khabib, if he gets pulled out of the contest, I'm not going to buy the fight. I'm not going to watch it. So that leads to less views. These improper weight cuts also can lead to organ failure, which is why a lot of them get hospitalized, and it can lead to psychological problems later on down the road. Slide 4, the need. The need for this is the proper instruction by weight management professionals, such as George Lockhart, who's the main UFC's nutritionist. They need to have testing before and after the weight cut to ensure that the fighter and coaches grasp the knowledge. And we would also need funding to be able to go to the fighters' camps or wherever their fights are at. So let's say traveling expenses, food expenses, which shouldn't be too much. Slide 5, hands-on practice. Qualified weight management professionals will work hands-on with the fighters daily on their weight cut because the weight cut isn't like something where you just check in every 5 days or something. You have to do it every 2 hours. You got to be checking in. You got to weigh your food. You got to do all that stuff. They will show you the ins and outs and the reasons why they are doing what they're doing. This will ensure that the fighters and coaches are learning and growing throughout the project. The goals, slide 6, the goals and outcomes. The goal obviously is an effective weight cut. So we would have hands-on instructions, as I mentioned before. I would want to take blood samples so that we could check all the vitals and all their like vitamins and nutrients and things like that to make sure that they're on pace. Before the weight cut, we would do a pre-weight cut test, which is just like a little handout, a little survey that will show their knowledge of the subject before the weight cut, and then there will be a post-weight cut that will be given after the competition and see how much they learned and grew throughout the project. Overall goal for the fighters and coaches is no need for a professional after doing a couple of these weight cuts. We want them to be able to do it by themselves. Feedback from the fighters after their weight cut and competition to ensure that the professionals are working properly with them would ensure that we're doing the right thing and not just doing it our way and only our way. Because if we get feedback from the fighters and coaches of what they like and don't like, then we can change and grow with them. Implementation strategy, slide 7. The inputs We would input qualified weight cutting professionals certified by genuinely Lockhart and Leith, which is the George Lockhart company that is the UFC's nutritionist and weight specialist. The outputs, we would give instruction, knowledge, connections to the fighters and coaches and their camps. The outcomes from this project, building networks for future clients by participating in these camps. Knowledge for the fighters and coaches. Reduce the amount of fighters who have to pull out of competitions. Impacts. Better quality of competition, as I mentioned before, because of the health of the fighters is better. If you have healthier fighters going into the competition, then they're going to be able to perform better. And for the fans, you're watching, instead of watching slow and not fast fighters, you're going to be watching the best of what the fighters are. And everyone is gaining more and more knowledge by participating in this project, even with us. So the more we work with people, the easier it will be to just keep it going. Plans and methods, framework, 100% commitment to the fighters, 100% commitment for the coaches, and qualified weight cutting professionals. Core strategies, information, education passed from professional to the fighters and coaches. Certification from Lockhart and Leith, UFC's main nutritionist and weight cutting specialist. Operations. So every day you would record about 5 times a day. So you would record breakfast, or what time they wake up, breakfast, snacks, their sleep schedule, their workout schedule, their lunch, their other snack, their macros, their dinner, their what time they go to sleep, what time they wake up, their resting heart rate, all that stuff, body fat, all that stuff. Active instruction to fighters and coaches about what the fighters should be eating or drinking throughout the day. And also we would want to prepare meals and drinks for the fighters daily, so that we're trying to make it as easy as possible for the fighter before the fight. They don't want to be sitting there worrying about what they should eat, what they shouldn't. They just want to train, eat, sleep, train, eat, sleep, go to the fight, win the fight. Collaborations. We would need fundraising to pay for the expenses of the project, as I mentioned, the travels cost, all that type of stuff. Collaboration with the fight camps and their teams and fighters and coaches. Evaluations. So we would evaluate ourselves with our data collection. So we would collect the weight of the fighter, calorie intake per day, energy levels, body fat, hydration levels, pre and post test knowledge on the subject, weight being made for the competition, quality of competition for the fighter. So all these things, if we track the data day by day, as we said in the daily operations, 5 times a day, we'll be able to graph it and see how the weight changed based on the calorie intake, how their energy levels went up or down, body fat, all that stuff. You'll be able to see how well you did. Sustainability, communications at all times throughout the day. I think that this will sustain us to be able to keep this going, because if they see how much time we're putting into it and how much effort we're putting into it, they're going to want us to keep coming back. Hands-on working with the fighters and coaches daily. That's obviously a given. One thing that we do, let's say, guarantee is that 100% success for the fighters in their weight cut, not in the competition, because you can't guarantee that. But all the fighters who follow the instructions completely, we guarantee that they will 100% make weight. And the way that we will stay funded is through fundraisers. Also, for sustainability, we will, if the fundraisers aren't working, then we will, well, no, not if the fundraisers aren't working, but if we can't do any more fundraising, then we would start to charge the camps after a few times of us doing the weight cuts, because if they see that we're 10 for 10 with the fighters that never missed weight, then they're going to want our team in there. Timeline. Fundraising to meet projected expenses, which is I calculated about $100,000 for a 4 to 5 man team. Take about 6 months. The weight cut is about 2 to 3 weeks, and the fight camps are about 8 weeks. So the summary of this whole project: 1, educate the fighters, educate the coaches. 3, help fighters make weight, get into the competition healthy. It's the main goal. Ensure no fighters will miss weight and have to be hospitalized. And then my references.